the night the plane shattered the sky. An FBI agent dove into freezing water to pull a mysterious woman in a torn white dress back from the edge of death. Moments later, she whispered a trembling plea no survivor should know. "Don't send me back. They'll find me." His K-9, Atlas, discovered a half-metal chip washed ashore, one that growled with danger and carried the ghost of Rowan's darkest memories. When the safe house lights went out, a message appeared. "Bring her home. She belongs to the program." And standing in the shadows of Windfall Ridge was the man Elena feared most, the same man who destroyed Rowan's life once before. Her past was engineered, his grief was weaponized, and the truth between them was a fuse waiting to be lit. But when a strange light rose again from beneath the same lake that almost claimed her life, they realized the real story wasn't about what happened. It's about what's about to begin. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of courage, faith, and miracles. The first warning came from Atlas. The 4-year-old German shepherd froze, his sable black-gray coat rising in a sharp, instinctive ridge. His amber eyes narrowed toward the lake, and a low growl rolled through his chest. One Rowan Creed had learned to respect without question. Something was coming. Rowan turned just in time to see the sky tear open. A white aircraft burst from the fog with a metallic shriek, spinning violently, one wing catching the faint morning light before snapping downward. The machine twisted once, twice, then slammed into the lake with a hollow, bone-deep crack. Water erupted high into the air. Atlas barked, not in fear, but in command. Rowan was already moving. He sprinted across the wet soil, shedding his black tactical jacket as he dove headfirst into the freezing water. The cold hit him like a punch, but he forced his lungs steady, pushing through debris swirling like dying stars beneath the surface. A strip of torn metal scraped past him, and then he saw her. Suspended in the murky green depths floated the silhouette of a young woman. Her long brown hair drifted around her head in soft ribbons. Her thin white slip dress fluttered like a torn fragment of moonlight. Her palm pressed weakly against the shattered glass of the cockpit. Her eyes were open, but fading. Rowan's heartbeat kicked hard. He struck the window once, twice. Blood curled into the water. On the third hit, the frame cracked. He wrapped an arm around her waist and tore her free, pulling her limp form against his chest before kicking upward with all the strength he had left. They broke the surface in a violent gasp of air. Atlas barked from the shore, pacing anxiously, urging Rowan forward as he dragged her to land. She felt impossibly light, as if the lake had drained the weight from her bones. Her dress clung to her curves, soaked and trembling with each breath she fought to take. Rowan knelt beside her. Her eyelashes fluttered. Then her hazel eyes opened, dazed, terrified, yet somehow achingly soft. For a moment, she looked at Rowan as though he were the final brightness in a world collapsing into darkness. Her lips trembled. "Don't send me back," she whispered. "Not there." Her hand brushed his wrist, and she collapsed. Rowan's breath tightened. Before he could process her words, Atlas barked sharply behind him. The dog stood over a small black bag washed ashore. His stance was rigid, teeth bared, a warning that something inside was wrong. Rowan unzipped the soaked pouch. Inside lay a half-moon metal chip, complex, etched with micro-circuits, humming faintly with residual heat. When Rowan lifted it, the metal pulsed. Atlas growled, deep and primal, as though the chip itself had a heartbeat he recognized. Rowan closed the bag quickly. Whatever this object was, it terrified Atlas in a way Rowan had only seen once before. And that night had ended with 2 agents injured and a fugitive in chains. Before he could think further, a sound rose from the forest. A faint electronic hum, a searching tone, something unnatural in the wilderness. The woman, still unconscious, tensed in his arms, lips parting as if speaking from a nightmare. They're already here. Atlas suddenly snapped his head toward the tree line, his entire body stiffening. A red dot slid across the grass toward Rowan's boot. A laser sight. In that suspended heartbeat, Rowan knew one thing. Saving her had just made him a target. Rowan spun, shielding the woman with his body as the laser crawled across the earth. Atlas lunged, barking fiercely as Rowan lifted the woman once more, her wet hair brushing against his neck. He didn't know her name. He didn't know why she was running. He didn't know who wanted her dead. But he knew fear when he saw it, raw, old, carved into her expression, even in unconsciousness. And he knew he couldn't hand her over. A voice boomed across the lake, male, cold, amplified through a device. "Elena Ward, return at once." Rowan froze. Elena, that was her name. Atlas growled, stepping in front of Rowan and the woman, his tail rigid, teeth exposed. The voice continued, lower, more threatening. "This is your only warning." A second laser dot appeared, then a third. Rowan tightened his grip around Elena, feeling her fingers twitch faintly against his chest, as if her body instinctively sought safety. He whispered to Atlas, "Move." The dog sprinted beside him as Rowan ran into the forest, branches slapping against his arms, damp earth slipping beneath his boots. Behind them, the amplified voice echoed one final promise. "Elena Ward, you cannot hide." Rowan didn't look back. He didn't need to. Every cell in his body, every instinct trained into him, screamed the same truth. He had just rescued a woman that powerful men were willing to kill for. And from the terror in her whisper, "Don't send me back." Rowan feared what would happen if they ever found her again. If you believe in miracles, and believe that sometimes God places the right person in our path at the exact moment they need saving, please like, comment, and subscribe to support more stories of faith, courage, and second chances. Elena woke with a sharp gasp. The kind dragged out of a soul escaping a nightmare. Her body jerked upright. Her breath broke in uneven bursts, her soaked white slip dress clinging to her skin like a second, trembling layer. Rowan Creed moved to steady her. His hands were firm, sure. The hands of a man who knew how to hold danger without flinching. But even he felt her shaking under his touch. Her eyes, hazel, wide, beautiful, darted around the dim ranger cabin. Dusty shelves, old beams, a weak battery lantern flickering against the wall. None of it reassured her. Then she saw the black bag, and everything inside her snapped like a pulled wire. She lunged. Her fingers grabbed the half-moon metal chip, clutching it to her chest so tightly it pressed into her skin. She curled around it, protective, terrified, desperate. Rowan lowered himself beside her. "Elena," he whispered, "you're safe." Her head snapped in a frantic shake. "No, I'm not." Her voice cracked. "And now, neither are you." She pressed herself against the wooden wall, knees drawn up, every muscle coiled. Rowan watched her chest rise and fall in shallow, frightened breaths. He recognized this. Not fear, trauma, the kind carved into a person over years. He didn't move closer. But Atlas did. The German shepherd approached with quiet, instinctive grace. 4 years old, sable black coat, amber eyes glowing warm in the lantern light. A warrior by nature, a healer by heart. He lowered his body, crawled the last inches, and rested his head gently on her knee. Elena froze. Her hand hovered, shaking, then touched his fur. Something inside her collapsed, like a wall she had held too long. Tears slid down her cheeks, soft, silent, shattering. "Why is he being kind?" she whispered. Rowan answered simply, "Animals don't lie." Her lips trembled, as if kindness felt like a trap. "Elena," Rowan said softly, "tell me what this chip is." Her fingers tightened around it until her knuckles turned white. "If I tell you," her voice broke, "you'll wish you never saved me." Rowan stayed still, not pushing, but not leaving. "I don't regret saving people." She looked up, and in her eyes, he saw a woman who had never been given a reason to believe anyone meant those words. "You will," she whispered. A sudden crack sounded overhead. The lantern sputtered, dimmed, went out. Darkness swallowed the cabin whole. Atlas surged to his feet, hackles raised. Rowan reached for his pistol. Elena pressed a hand over her mouth to keep from sobbing. Then, an eerie blue glow pulsed through the woods outside. Not headlights, not flashlights, a sweeping scan of cold, rhythmic light. The cabin shuddered, as if something invisible pressed against it. The lantern hissed on the floor. Elena whispered, barely audible, "It's them." Rowan steadied his breath. "Who?" Her answer was a quiver of terror. "You heard his voice?" Atlas turned. Not toward the window, not toward the door, but toward the empty corner of the room. The dog's growl deepened into something ancient, something primal. There was nothing there. But his body stiffened, ears pinned, breath trembling. "Elena," Rowan whispered. "What is he sensing?" She stared into the darkness. "Presence," she said. "They project it before they arrive." A floorboard shifted, or groaned, or something pressed against it. Atlas whimpered, a sound Rowan had only heard once. The night Atlas saw Rowan's partner die, whatever was coming terrified even him. Rowan flicked on a tactical flashlight. The beam cut across the cabin like a scalpel. "We're leaving? Now." "No." Elena hugged the chip tighter. "Once they tag a signal, they don't stop." "Who are they?" Rowan demanded. She shut her eyes. Pain twisted across her face. "People who don't forgive escape." Rowan tried again. "Elena, someone shot at you. They knew your name. They want this chip. Tell me why." "I can't," she whispered. "Because if you know, you'll die trying to protect me." He stared at her. "I'll take that risk." She flinched, as if the idea of being protected hurt worse than danger. A soft tapping hit the door. Once, twice, deliberate, measured. Rowan motioned. Atlas dropped low, muscles coiled. The tapping stopped. Silence pressed in around them. Something slid under the door. A piece of paper. Rowan grabbed it quickly. One sentence, "Bring her home. She belongs to the program." Elena's gasp was a sound of pure, soul-deep dread. Rowan turned to her. "What's the program?" She shook her head violently. "You don't understand. There's no leaving it." "Elena," Rowan said, his voice low and steady. "What were you running from?" Her lips parted. "Myself," she whispered. The flashlight flickered again. Then another surge hit the cabin, rattling shelves, humming through the air. Elena stumbled forward, instinctively pressing herself against Rowan's chest. His arms circled her without hesitation. "They're close," she breathed. "I know it." Rowan held her steady. "Elena, the chip. Tell me the truth." Her eyes lifted to his, tortured, frightened, shining. "It's not a chip," she said softly. "It's a key, half of one." Rowan's blood cooled. "And the other half?" She swallowed. "In me." Outside, twigs snapped. Footsteps, several. Heavy, purposeful. Rowan killed the flashlight. Atlas slid forward, a silent shadow. Elena pressed her palm over her heart. They're coming, she whispered. They always come. Rowan inhaled once, calm, controlled. Let them come, he said. They'll learn you're not alone anymore. If you believe that God sends protectors in our darkest moments, please like, comment, and subscribe to support more stories of faith, courage, and miracles. Rowan drove through the night with the headlights cutting narrow corridors of pale gold between the trees, the wheels grinding over gravel, as if urging him forward faster than his heart could follow. Elena sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in a blanket Rowan had found in the truck bed. Her white slip dress clung to her knees, still damp from the lake, her fingers curled tightly around the half-chip resting in her palm. Atlas paced anxiously in the back seat, muscles taut, amber eyes shifting between Rowan and the dark forest sliding past the windows. Rowan didn't speak for nearly 20 minutes. He was focused, jaw clenched, shoulders rigid. But Elena watched him, watched how his eyes kept returning to the road ahead, yet never truly left the storm inside him. Finally, she asked, "Where are we going?" "A place no one else knows," he answered quietly, and something in his voice softened just enough for her to feel its raw edge. Atlas let out a low whine, and Rowan reached his hand back, brushing the dog's neck. The simple gesture steadied him. "Just a little farther, buddy," he murmured. They reached the old fire service trail, a narrow, overgrown path leading deeper into the mountains. Rowan turned off the headlights. The truck crawled forward on memory alone until a silhouette appeared. A small wooden cabin tucked beneath towering pines, moonlight brushing the roof like a fading prayer. Elena stepped out slowly. The night was cold, carrying the scent of moss and rain-soaked bark. Rowan unlocked the door, and the hinges groaned as though they hadn't been opened in years. Inside was sparse but warm. A cast-iron stove, a simple cot, a wool blanket, a single lantern hanging from a beam. And on the far wall, illuminated faintly by the moonlight sliding through the window, was a framed photograph. A woman, young with soft brown hair and gentle eyes, smiling at the camera while standing beside Rowan, who looked younger, lighter, untouched by shadows. Elena understood instantly. Rowan avoided looking at the picture, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed every unspoken truth. "This was hers," Elena whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he moved to light the lantern, and its glow flickered across his face, revealing a grief that felt both old and still bleeding. Elena watched him. Rowan Creed, 6'2", lean muscular build, dark hair slightly tousled, gray-blue eyes that usually carried a soldier's resolve. But tonight, they carried something more fragile. Something still searching. Atlas lay down near the stove, but kept his gaze locked on the half-chip Elena held. His ears twitched every few seconds, a quiet alertness edging his posture. Elena sat near the small table. She held up the chip so its metallic surface caught the lantern's flame. "This is what they want." Rowan turned to her, voice low. "What exactly is it?" She inhaled shakily, pushing back strands of wet hair. "A key. Not just a piece. Of hardware. It's half of the master code for an AI flight control system. Autonomous, self-correcting, self-learning." She hesitated. "I didn't design it, but I was forced to perfect it." Rowan felt the words punch through him like cold water. AI, flight control. His heart hammered once, hard. "Say it clearly," he murmured. "It controls military aircraft," she said quietly. "And if completed, it can override a pilot's commands." The air seemed to narrow. Rowan's pulse thrummed. "What does that have to do with you?" "I was one of the scientists who discovered the flaw," she whispered. a flaw they refused to fix. Rowan's gaze hardened. A familiar story, a too familiar wound. Elena looked down at the chip. They wanted it finished, no matter the risk. I tried to warn them, so they took everything from me. Atlas suddenly stood up, sniffing the air. His tail lowered, body tense, ears pinned forward. He approached the table, nose nudging aggressively at the chip. He recognizes something, Elena said. Rowan knelt beside the dog, watching how Atlas's muscles bristled, how a low growl rumbled from his throat, different from any growl Rowan had ever heard. Not anger, not fear, recognition. Rowan's breath caught. The dog pressed his head against Rowan's knee, eyes shifting sadly toward the photograph on the wall. And Rowan understood. Atlas had been there. The night of the crash. The night Rowan lost the woman in the photograph. Claire. The past slammed into him like a physical force. Elena watched Rowan's expression shift from shock to devastation. A change so quiet and so violent, she felt it in her bones. She reached out, fingers trembling, brushing the back of his hand. "Rowan," she whispered. "The flaw in the system. It's the same one they buried. The same one that caused test flight 07B. His head jerked toward her, eyes wide, shattering. "That crash," she continued, voice breaking, "it wasn't a malfunction. It was a controlled override." She hesitated. "And the algorithm signature? It matches the code inside this chip." Atlas let out a soft, heartbroken whine. Rowan's heart cracked open. Rowan stood abruptly, stepping away from the table. He braced himself against the wooden wall, breathing slow, controlled, but Elena could see the tremor in his shoulders. She approached him cautiously. "Rowan, I didn't know you had someone on that flight." He didn't turn around. "She was the woman in the picture," Elena whispered gently. "Claire," he finally said, the name leaving him like a wound reopening. "She was everything good I ever had." Elena touched his arm with fragile courage. "I'm so sorry. If I had known, I would have told you sooner." He closed his eyes. "It doesn't change anything, doesn't it?" Elena stepped closer. "I dragged you into this, into the same storm that took her." Rowan turned to face her. His voice was quiet, breaking at the edges. "You didn't drag me. I stepped in because someone needed help. That's what Claire would have wanted." Elena swallowed hard. "And now my past is bleeding into yours. And maybe," he said, "it's time I stop running from mine." Atlas nudged his leg, offering silent comfort. Rowan knelt and stroked the dog's fur, feeling the tremor in Atlas's breath. Elena sat beside them. She placed the chip on Rowan's palm, her fingers brushing his. "This is the truth they killed for. The truth they'll come again to take." Rowan studied the cold metal, its curved edge glinting beneath the lantern light. Determination filled his face, not rage, not vengeance, but clarity. "We'll decode it," he said, "and we'll expose them." Elena exhaled, relief shaking through her. "Then we're in this together." Rowan looked at her, really looked, past the fear, past the past, into the fragile courage she tried to hide. "Yeah," he murmured. "Together." Atlas lay down beside them, resting his head across both their feet, as though solemnly binding the three of them into a single rising storm. And in the quiet that followed, Rowan realized something. The past wasn't done hurting him, but for the first time, he wasn't facing it alone. If you believe God reunites us with the people we need at the moment we need them most, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of faith, healing, and miracles. Dust spiraled behind Rowan's truck as the tires tore across the uneven dirt road leading toward Silver Canyon, the narrow gorge slicing through the mountains like a wound carved by God himself. Moonlight washed the canyon walls in silver-blue shadows, giving the place its name. Rowan could feel the engine struggle, every vibration traveling up his wounded arm. Blood seeped through the sleeve of his tactical jacket, dark and warm against the cold air pouring through the shattered passenger window. Elena held the dashboard with one hand, while the other pressed against Rowan's arm to slow the bleeding. Her slip dress, white, delicate, torn, fluttered wildly in the wind. Atlas stood rigid in the back, paws spread to balance, amber eyes fixed on the trail of headlights appearing behind them. "They're gaining," Rowan muttered, voice clipped. Elena's breathing quickened. "Can we lose them?" "In the canyon, maybe." Rowan winced as another jolt of pain shot through his arm. His jaw tightened, but he kept the truck steady as they slid onto the narrow path hugging the canyon wall. The drop beside them was steep, hundreds of feet of darkness. A bullet cracked against the back of the truck. Atlas snarled, teeth bared, muscles rippling beneath his sable-black coat. "Elena," Rowan said through clenched teeth. "When we stop, take Atlas and run west. Follow the ravine. Don't look back." "No," she said instantly, panic rising. "I'm not leaving you." "You don't have a choice," Rowan growled. But the tremor in his voice betrayed the pain starting to overwhelm him. The truck skidded around a sharp bend. Rowan slammed the brakes. Dust exploded outward. The truck stopped inches from the canyon edge. Before he could speak, Rowan's strength faltered. He sagged back into the seat. Elena moved fast. She tore a long strip from the hem of her dress, the fabric ripping easily in her shaking hands. She wrapped it tightly around his arm, leaning over him, their breaths close, their faces inches apart. The lantern glow from the dashboard lit her skin with a soft, almost ethereal shimmer. "You can't fall apart now," she whispered, voice breaking with urgency. "I need you." Rowan looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just frightened. She was terrified of losing him. The weight of that realization tightened something in his chest more painfully than the wound. Her fingers trembled as they tied the makeshift bandage. Their closeness filled the small cabin of the truck with a tension neither dared name. "Elena." His voice softened. She glanced up, and for a moment the world shrank to only their shattered breaths and the warmth of her hands on his skin. But then, a sharp burst of static crackled through the canyon. A radio? Someone from the pursuing team had left their comms connected, and the echo bounced off the high rock walls. "Target located. Ryder Hale wants her alive. Creed is optional." The words hung in the canyon like the toll of a funeral bell. Elena froze, her face drained of color. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Rowan stared at her, pulse pounding. "You know that name." Elena forced herself to breathe. "Ryder Hale. He saved me when I was a child. He pulled me out of a burning facility. He told me I was safe. He told me he'd always protect me." Rowan's expression hardened into a stoic mask, but inside, a new storm churned. "He's leading the people hunting you." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "That can't be true. Ryder was the only one who ever—" "Elena." Rowan's tone was firm, not unkind. "We deal in truth now, not stories." Her eyes filled with something he couldn't name. Betrayal, heartbreak, disbelief. Atlas barked sharply, 3 quick barks, his signal that danger had shifted direction. The headlights vanished. Silence fell. Rowan tensed. "Why did they stop?" Atlas jumped from the truck, nose pressed to the ground. He paced in circles, then sprinted toward a fork in the canyon path. Rowan and Elena followed, The moonlight spilled over the rocky ground, revealing something glinting between two boulders. Atlas pawed at it, then backed away, ears pinned flat. Elena knelt and lifted it. A second chip. Except this one wasn't a half-circle like hers. It was jagged, fractured, but unmistakably part of the same technological key. Rowan drew closer, studying it carefully. This was dropped here, deliberately. Elena's voice shook. Why? Why leave this instead of taking me? Rowan scanned the canyon walls, the ridges, the shadows deeper than natural darkness. He felt watched, observed, as if someone wanted to see how far he'd get before breaking. Because, Rowan said slowly, we're not the ones chasing Ryder. Elena looked up sharply. Then who is? A gust of wind swept through the canyon, carrying dust and a faint metallic scent. One Rowan recognized from accident scenes, burned metal, fractured engines. He swallowed hard. We're playing on someone else's board, he said. Ryder is moving pieces, testing reactions, setting traps. Elena's voice cracked. For me? For both of us, Rowan answered. For all of us. Atlas pressed his body against Rowan's leg, whimpering softly, a rare sound for the fearless K9. Rowan placed a hand on the dog's head, steadying him. Something's wrong, he murmured. Something more than a chase. Before Elena could respond, the ground trembled slightly, like a distant engine humming beneath their feet. Rowan lifted his flashlight, sweeping the beam across the canyon walls. Nothing. But the sound persisted, faint, rhythmic, unnatural. Elena, Rowan said, voice low, who else knows about the chips? She hesitated. Just Ryder. Rowan exhaled slowly. Then he's sending us a message. And a question. Elena clutched the new chip, her knuckles white. What question? Why? Rowan said. Would he help you run if he also wants to catch you? A stillness heavier than fear settled between them. And for the first time, Elena didn't have an answer. If you believe God leads us through danger to uncover truth and courage, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of faith and miracles. The door to the underground Helios facility hissed open with a metallic groan, releasing a gust of stale, cold air. The deeper Rowan, Elena, and Atlas descended. The more the world above felt like a fading dream, replaced by dim corridors, flickering lights, and the hum of machinery long abandoned, yet somehow still alive. The concrete walls were stained with water lines and dust, as if the building itself had been trying to forget what was done here. Atlas's paws clicked softly against the floor, every muscle in his 4-year-old German Shepherd frame tense, ears pivoting at the faintest echo. His amber eyes burned with vigilance. Rowan kept his gun drawn, his injured arm stiff beneath Elena's careful bandaging. He tried to ignore the tightening in his chest, the sense that he was walking straight into the mouth of the truth he'd spent years avoiding. Elena moved beside him, pale in the dim light, her torn white slip dress fluttering with each hesitant step. Her beauty looked fragile here, almost ghost-like against the oppressive concrete. But her eyes, hazel, exhausted, haunted, held something else, a dread she already expected. Rowan approached a rusted door marked 14A. The numbers were faded, scratched as if someone had tried to claw them off. He swiped the card key Elena had stolen from a guard. The lock clicked. The room was dark. Rowan flicked on a breaker. Rows of screens hummed to life, bathing the room in a sickly blue glow. A single folder appeared on the central monitor. Archive. Flight 07B. Classified. Elena inhaled sharply. Rowan froze. Atlas growled, a low, uneasy sound, as if recognizing the scent of death itself. Rowan clicked the file. A video appeared. Grainy footage of an aircraft interior, time-stamped 6 years earlier. His breath hitched. His fingers trembled, hovering over the keyboard. Elena stepped closer, her presence quiet but steady. "Rowan, you don't have to." "Yes," he whispered, voice breaking. "I do." He hit play. The screen showed test flight 07B rising smoothly into the Nevada sky. Telemetry readings scrolled across the bottom. Crew voices crackled through the static. Then a new voice entered the feed. Calm, male, chillingly steady. "Initiate override. Execute sequence 9. Elena's eyes widened. She pressed a hand to her mouth. "I know that voice," she whispered. Rowan's heart pounded. "Who is it?" Before she could answer, the footage shifted. The cockpit lights flickered. Alarms blared. The pilot shouted for manual control. No response. Another voice cried. The plane veered sharply, and then Rowan saw her. Claire. Standing in the observation tower, smiling brightly toward the sky, unaware that the test flight she came to support would be her final moment on Earth. The image burned into Rowan's soul like fire. The voice returned, louder this time. Override confirmed. Authorized detonation. Rowan's breath shattered. No. The video continued. Claire looked up as if sensing something wrong. A second later, a blaze of white. The explosion tore through the sky, engulfing the tower's western window. The screen froze on a fractured frame of fire. Rowan staggered backward, hand flying to his mouth. His knees almost buckled. Elena whispered the name like a curse. "Ryder." That was Ryder Hale's voice. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Atlas stepped in front of Elena, body low, tail stiff, a protector sensing her collapse before she hit the ground. Elena pressed her hands into her temples, shaking uncontrollably. "He was the hero of my childhood," she said through tears. "The only one who pulled me from that burning facility. I trusted him. I believed him." Her voice trembled harder. "He ordered the override, Rowan. He caused the crash. He killed—" "Stop!" Rowan forced out, though his voice cracked like broken glass. "Please, just stop." But the next file opened itself, almost as if the system wanted to confess what humans tried to bury. A photo appeared. A girl, 14 years old, standing in a white clinical dress. Hair long, eyes vacant, as if life had been drained out. A label beneath the image read, "Ward, Elena, Program Candidate 042, acquired age 14. Elena recoiled. "No," she whispered. "No, I don't remember this. I can't." Rowan knelt beside her. The pain in his chest, his grief, folded into something else, compassion. His hand hovered near her cheek, hesitant but aching to comfort. "Elena," he said softly, "whatever they did to you, it wasn't your choice." Her tears fell silently. "That means they shaped me," she cried, "built me, programmed me. I don't even know if I'm human or some design tool." Her voice cracked. "Am I even myself, Rowan, or just something they made?" Atlas pushed his head beneath her arm, anchoring her as she sobbed. His warm weight grounded her, an animal's truth in a room full of engineered lies. The lights flickered. A low hum vibrated through the floor, almost like a heartbeat. A recorded audio clip suddenly began to play, triggered by motion. A voice, the same voice. Ryder Hale. But this time, he wasn't giving orders. He was speaking intimately, almost tenderly. "Subject 04 shows exceptional cognitive adaptation. She trusts me. Good. She'll do anything I ask once the key is completed." Elena's breath caught. Rowan's blood turned to ice. Atlas bared his teeth at the speakers, growling with a ferocity neither of them had ever seen in him. Something darker hid behind Ryder's motives, deeper than control, more personal than betrayal. And it was about Elena. Rowan turned off the audio with a violent swipe. Elena curled inward, shaking. "I wasn't a survivor," she whispered. "I was an asset. A tool. Ryder didn't save me. He claimed me." Rowan lifted her chin gently. "Look at me." Her eyes, wet, fractured, met his. "Whatever they planned for you," he said, voice rough with conviction. "They failed. You broke free. You ran. You fought. No one can program courage like yours." She exhaled a wounded, trembling breath. "But Claire..." Rowan's expression twisted. Grief pulled at the corners of his mouth, but his gaze stayed steady on her. "What Ryder did to Claire..." He swallowed hard. "That wasn't your sin to carry. That was his. And now he has to answer for it." Elena closed her eyes, letting the words sink through years of manipulated memory and buried pain. Atlas nudged them both, sensing a shift. One wound being acknowledged, another beginning to heal. Elena pressed her forehead to Rowan's shoulder. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for being the key to your greatest loss." Rowan wrapped an arm around her, pulling her closer. "You're not the key to my loss, Elena," he murmured. "But you might be the key to ending his." For the first time since entering room 14A, Elena felt the faintest glimmer of something. Hope, or maybe the beginning of forgiveness for herself. The truth had bled them both tonight, but it had also bound them. If you believe God brings truth to light even in the darkest rooms, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of faith, courage, and miracles. The night air above Windfall Ridge tasted like metal and cold thunder, a storm waiting for permission to exist. Rowan, Elena, and Atlas climbed the final stretch of the rocky incline, their steps illuminated only by a weak flashlight and the distant shimmer of lightning scattered across the sky. The ground crunched beneath their boots. The wind whipped Elena's torn white dress around her legs, making her look like a pale flame flickering in the darkness. They stopped at the ridge's edge, where the land dropped sharply into a sprawling valley below. Rowan scanned the horizon, jaw tight, gun holstered, but ready. Elena stood close beside him, fingers twisting nervously around the chain where the half-chip now hung. Atlas paced in slow, deliberate circles, nose raised, nostrils flaring. Rowan felt it first, a static charge humming through the air. Then a voice crackled from the small encrypted receiver Rowan had taken from the Helios facility, a voice both familiar and venomous. "Elena," Ryder Hale murmured, smooth as ice sliding across steel. "You were our first masterpiece. Stop running." Elena froze. Her breath collapsed inward. Her shoulders caved. The tremor in her hands was so sharp that Rowan instinctively stepped closer, placing himself between her and the darkness around them. "Don't listen to him," Rowan said quietly. But she couldn't pull her gaze away from the receiver in Rowan's hand. "Rowan," she whispered, voice cracking. He was the only one back then who made me feel like I mattered, like I wasn't just a test subject." Rowan's jaw hardened. "He didn't choose you, Elena. He owned you." Atlas let out a low, warning growl, ears pinned in a way Rowan had only seen moments before a strike. The receiver hissed again. "Creed," Ryder said with a chilling familiarity, "I admire your persistence. Truly, not many men would drag their grief this far uphill. But you're standing in a story you don't understand." Rowan's grip tightened. He wanted to crush the device. But before he could, a shadow appeared through the fog, tall, composed, and walking toward them with the confidence of a man immune to fear. Ryder Hale stepped into view. He was exactly as the rumors whispered. Silver hair swept back neatly, angular jaw clean-shaven, posture military straight. His tailored dark vest hugged his athletic frame. His sharp slate-gray eyes glimmered with an unsettling mix of intelligence and cruelty. He looked like a man who believed the world existed solely for him to manipulate. Rowan stepped in front of Elena. Atlas positioned himself beside Rowan, body lowered, gaze locked, teeth visible. Ryder stopped a few feet away, smiling faintly. "Elena," he said softly, "look at you. Even broken, you shine." She stepped back instinctively. Don't talk to me like that." "Why not?" Ryder replied, tilting his head. "You were designed to listen." Rowan lunged forward, but Elena grabbed his arm. "Don't," she whispered. "He wants to provoke you." Ryder's smile widened, delighted she still understood him. "You feel it, don't you?" Ryder said. "The way your pulse reacts when I speak, the echoes of what we built together." Elena's face crumpled, not in longing, but in horror. "No," she whispered. "What you built was a cage." Ryder's eyes glittered. "A cage you thrived in." Rowan stepped forward, voice low and lethal. "You're done talking." But Ryder didn't flinch. Instead, he studied Rowan as if he were a puzzle missing its most important piece. "You're angry," Ryder observed calmly. "Of course you are. I would be too if a woman I loved died because she was standing in the wrong place, at the wrong time, watching the wrong plane." A muscle in Rowan's jaw twitched. "And yet," Ryder continued, "here you are, wrapped around another woman whose life orbit is just as catastrophic." Atlas barked sharply, the sound echoing across the ridge like a warning shot. Ryder raised an eyebrow. "Cute dog," Rowan snapped. "You don't get to talk about them. Not her, not him, and not Claire." At the mention of Claire, something flickered across Ryder's expression. Dark, sharp, but fleeting. Too fleeting. He smiled again. "Ah, so you finally watched the footage." Rowan didn't breathe. Ryder clasped his hands behind his back like a lecturer addressing a classroom. "You're wondering why I did it," he said. "Why that flight? Why that moment? Why her?" Elena trembled violently. "Stop, please stop." Ryder's voice softened dangerously. "Oh, Elena, sweet Elena, he will never look at you the same way again. Not when he knows the whole truth." Rowan growled, "You don't get near her, ever again." "Near her?" Ryder chuckled. "Creed, you really think Elena belongs with you? After everything she is, everything she was built to be?" The word "built" sliced through the air. Rowan surged forward, pulling out the cuffs and snapping them onto Ryder's wrists. Ryder didn't resist, didn't react, didn't even blink. Rowan shoved him toward the ridge path, Atlas circling like a shadow ready to strike. Ryder looked at Rowan with calm, knowing amusement. "There it is," he murmured. "The righteous fury." Rowan tightened his grip. But Ryder leaned in the slightest bit, lowering his voice to a whisper meant only for Rowan. "You think you saved the right person?" Rowan froze. Ryder smiled. "You have no idea who Elena really is." Elena stumbled back, breath torn from her lungs, eyes wide with a terror Rowan had never seen in her before. Atlas pressed into her legs protectively. The wind howled across the ridge as if the mountains themselves recoiled from the truth hanging in the air. And Rowan felt it. A fracture. A splinter. A seed of doubt Ryder had planted with surgical precision. If you believe God reveals truth, even when darkness tries to twist it, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of faith. courage, and miracles. The lake was calmer than it had been the night Rowan pulled Elena from its depths. The water spread out like a sheet of liquid glass, catching the evening sun and splitting it into soft gold, pale blue, and a shimmer of silver that danced with every breath of wind. It felt quieter here, almost sacred, as though the world itself had paused to listen. Elena stood at the water's edge, her bare feet sinking slightly into the cool sand. Her white slip dress clung to her shape, soft fabric fluttering around her ankles. She wrapped her arms around herself, but not from the cold. Tonight, the chill came from inside, the place where her identity had been shaken, fractured, rewritten. Beside her, Rowan Creed stood silently. Tall, broad-shouldered, lean-muscled beneath his black tactical jacket. He looked like a man carved from resolve and heartache in equal measure. His gray-blue eyes, usually sharp, were softened by something seldom seen in him: vulnerability. Atlas sat between them, regal and alert, sable coat catching glimmers of sunset as though woven with threads of light. His ears twitched gently, sensing Elena's unrest. For a long time, no one spoke. Elena finally broke the silence. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. "Rowan, if one day I remember everything, and I'm not the person you think I am, would you regret saving me?" Rowan's breath left him slowly. He stepped closer until the distance between them dissolved into warmth and unspoken truth. He lifted his hand, calloused, steady, and placed it over her heart. His palm felt warm against her skin. "Elena," he said, voice low, roughened by the weight of emotion he rarely let the world see. "I didn't save you because of who you were." He shook his head gently. "I saved you because when you opened your eyes under that water, you looked at me like I was the last thing keeping you tethered to this world." Her breath caught, knees weakening slightly. He continued, softer still. "And that look, it broke something loose in me. Something I thought died with Claire." Elena's eyes shimmered, lashes trembling. She pressed her hand over his, holding it to her chest as though anchoring herself to the honesty he offered. Atlas let out a soft sound, almost a sigh, then nudged his head under both their hands. The gesture was gentle, warm, a symbol of unity only a loyal heart could offer. Rowan smiled faintly and stroked the dog's ear. Elena knelt beside Atlas, fingers running through his thick fur. "Sometimes I think he understands more than both of us combined." Rowan chuckled quietly. "He does." The breeze shifted. Leaves rustled. The surface of the lake rippled once, then stilled again. Elena stared into it, her reflection wavering like a memory trying to find its form. "Rowan," she whispered. "Ryder said something. Something I can't stop hearing." Rowan's expression dimmed. "What did he say?" "That I'm not who I think I am. That there's another truth. One I haven't remembered yet." Her hands tightened in Atlas's fur. "I don't know what's inside my past, or what I might become when I uncover it." Rowan lowered himself to sit beside her, their shoulders touching. "If you want to know," he said softly, "I'll go find it with you." Her heartbeat stumbled. "You do that?" "Every step," Rowan whispered. "Every shadow, every truth. You won't face any of it alone." Elena lowered her forehead to his shoulder, letting the promise sink into the cracks of her unraveling identity. Atlas curled against their legs, as if sealing the vow with his presence. The world felt still again. A sudden flash blinked across the surface of the lake. Elena lifted her head. It wasn't lightning, not the sun, not a reflection of either of them. It was a narrow, concentrated glint, like a signal, a pulse, coming from beneath the water where she had nearly drowned. Atlas's ears shot up. He stood quickly, body rigid, a soft growl vibrating from deep in his chest. Rowan rose to his feet. "Atlas, what is it?" The dog took a step forward, nose toward the water, gaze locked on the precise spot the light had appeared. Elena pressed a hand to her lips. "It's calling me again." Rowan's eyebrows narrowed. "What is?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But I've seen that kind of reflection before. Inside Helios. In the memory lab." A single line of light shimmered below the surface, then vanished. The lake went still. Elena stepped toward the shore until the water kissed her toes. A shiver traced up her legs. "Rowan," she murmured. "What if there's something down there? Something they left, or something I left behind?" Rowan approached her carefully. "If there is, we'll find it. But not tonight. Not without knowing what we're diving into." She turned to him, eyes softening. "You always sound so certain." He placed a gentle hand beneath her chin. "No, I'm terrified, Elena. But fear doesn't get to decide what happens next. We do." She leaned into him. Not a collapse, but a choice. The kind made when two wounded souls decide they might heal better together than apart. Rowan wrapped an arm around her waist, grounding her. "We'll search," he said. "We'll decode whatever truth that light is tied to. And if Ryder knows something about who you really are..." He paused, voice darkening. "He won't get the final word." Elena managed a faint smile. "Promise?" "Promise," Rowan answered. Atlas barked once, short, certain, as if echoing Rowan's vow. The sun dipped lower. The lake reflected streaks of peach and silver, the same colors Elena had seen when she first woke in Rowan's arms beneath the water's surface. She stepped back, one last glance toward the glimmering spot. "Whatever I am, whatever I was, thank you for seeing me now." Rowan brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I see the woman who fought to survive, the woman who chose to run from darkness, the woman who chose light, even when she didn't know if she deserved it." Emotion tightened her throat. "And if that light is calling you," Rowan said softly, "we'll follow it." Elena looked back at the water. A faint glow pulsed once more, brief but unmistakable. Her future had begun the moment Rowan saved her. But her past was rising to meet her. If you believe God brings light to the places we fear most, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of faith, miracles, and redemption. In every moment where fear rises, where truth feels distant, and where the path ahead seems uncertain, remember this: God has a way of placing the right people, the right signs, and the right miracles in our lives, exactly when we need them. What happened in this story is a reminder that even in the darkest hours, light still finds its way through. As you go back to your daily life, may you carry faith close to your heart, believing that no step is ever walked alone. If this story touched you, share it with someone who might need hope today. Leave a comment about what spoke to you most, and subscribe to the channel to follow more stories of courage, grace, and redemption. May God watch over you and bless every day ahead.